Ever wondered which classic rock bands aged like fine wine and which ones, well, not so much? Get ready for an exciting ride as we present the top 20 classic rock bands that aged most embarrassingly. Here we go. 20. The Kinks. The Kinks, a band that once rode the waves of rock stardom, found themselves navigating treacherous waters filled with legal battles, social upheaval, and artistic challenges. Renowned for their witty and satirical songs reflecting British culture and politics, their journey took unexpected turns. In 1973, they embarked on an ambitious project, the rock opera album Soap Opera, a bold critique of the British system and its class divisions. However, critics and listeners deemed it boring, rebellious, and disloyal. The Kinks faced a dichotomy of appreciation and disdain for their musical and lyrical experimentation. The year 1980 marked a tumultuous chapter in the band's history. During a concert at White City Stadium in London, part of a music festival celebrating the International Year of the Child, the Kinks were met with violence and hostility from a group of skinheads. Booing, bottle throwing, and physical attacks disrupted the festival, turning it into chaos. The skinheads targeted the Kinks, perceiving them as outdated, irrelevant, and unfashionable. Despite efforts to finish their set, the band had to retreat from the stage, threatened by the angry mob. As the 80s unfolded, the Kinks released their final album from a major label, UK Jive, in 1989. Regrettably, it became a commercial and critical failure. The album's songs were labeled as bland, drab, and pathetic by reviewers. Critics and audiences alike made fun of the Kinks, ridiculing them for being bland, uninspired, and seemingly out of touch with the evolving music scene. Adding insult to injury, legal battles ensued with their former label, manager, and even within the band. Despite influences from other bands and the input of Ray Davies' brother, they were harshly criticized as obsessed, unoriginal, and unimaginative. 19. The Monkees. The Monkees, originally conceived for a TV show, morphed into a musical phenomenon that left an indelible mark on the industry. Despite early skepticism about their manufactured origins, they soared to unprecedented heights, selling millions of records and influencing a generation of musicians. In 1970, their final studio album, Changes, saw the participation of only two founding members, Mickey Dolenz and Davy Jones. Critics unleashed a barrage of criticism, labeling them as pathetic, desperate, and irrelevant. The Monkees faced a hiatus lasting 16 years, only to reappear at the 1986 MTV Video Music Awards. However, their return was met with harsh scrutiny. Accusations of lip-syncing, critiques of their appearance, and disdain for their new song filled the air. The mockery intensified, branding them as corny, old, and lame. In 1987, they released Pool It, their first album in 17 years, featuring synth-heavy, cheesy, and seemingly out-of-touch tunes. The Monkees found themselves at the receiving end of ridicule, labeled as washed up, lackluster, and boring. Legal battles became a part of their narrative, involving former producer Don Kirshner, bandmate Michael Nesmith, and the former label Coal Gems Records. Their actions, scandals, and litigations became fodder for mockery. While openly acknowledging influences like the Beatles, the Byrds, and even citing the Monkees themselves, they faced criticism for being fixated, deemed unoriginal, and accused of lacking inspiration. 18. Green Day. Green Day, hailed for revitalizing punk music with their catchy and rebellious tunes, found themselves navigating through a maze of criticism that questioned their authenticity. Despite their punk roots, their foray into eyeliner, Broadway adaptations, and broader musical aspirations raised eyebrows, with accusations of betraying their original background. In 2020, they faced a significant blow with the release of Father of All Motherfuckers, widely considered the nadir of their discography. The album cover, featuring a unicorn puking rainbows, became a symbol of their perceived descent. Mockery ensued, labeling them as needy, dull, and generic. The 2016 American Music Awards witnessed a politically charged moment during Green Day's performance of Bang Bang, as they shouted, "No Trump, no KKK, no fascist USA." This overtly political stance drew criticism, branding them as obnoxious, irrelevant, and hypocritical. In 2024, they attempted a resurgence with Saviors, marketed as a return to their roots. However, critics argued that it merely amounted to a reworking of their older material with a sprinkle of social and political criticism. Derision followed, marking them as antiquated, cliched, and disconnected from contemporary music. Green Day's journey was marred by scandals, including lawsuits for plagiarism, travel bans from China, and drug-related arrests. Their actions, scandals, and legal entanglements became a source of mockery, overshadowing their once revered status in the punk music scene. 17. Oasis. Oasis, a powerhouse in the Britpop scene, rose to prominence with Beatles-esque anthems that resonated globally. However, the band's success was eclipsed by internal strife, arrogance, and a penchant for controversy. The dynamic between brothers Liam and Noel Gallagher, marked by public arguments and bitter breakups, became synonymous with Oasis's legacy. In 1997, Oasis released Be Here Now, an album that achieved commercial success but faced scathing criticism for its lengthy and overproduced tracks. Accusations of gluttony, arrogance, and a cocaine-fueled lifestyle tarnished their image, painting them as out of touch with the evolving music landscape. The 2008 Brit Awards marked a paradoxical moment for Oasis. Despite winning the Outstanding Contribution to Music prize, they faced jeers from some fans. The perception of disrespect, coupled with their perceived irrelevance, fueled the disdain directed at the band. Internal discord reached a breaking point in 2009 when a backstage dispute between Liam and Noel led to the band's dissolution. Oasis became a target for mockery, with critics highlighting their drama, immaturity, and inability to reconcile as points of ridicule. Feuds with other artists, including Robbie Williams, Blur, and Jay-Z, added to Oasis's troubled narrative. Their setbacks, threats, and provocations contributed to a public image marked by controversy. While Oasis openly acknowledged influences from bands like the Beatles, the Sex Pistols, and the cultural backdrop of Manchester City, they faced criticism for being overly fixated, unoriginal, and derivative in their approach. 16. Radiohead. Radiohead, celebrated for their musical innovation and experimentation, has equally faced criticism for their perceived pessimism, elitism, and unconventional business approaches. Frontman Thom Yorke, in particular, has become a target for critiques related to his dancing, vocals, and environmental activism. The turning point came with the release of Kid A in 2000, a departure from their guitar-driven rock sound in favor of ambient and electronic music. While praised for pushing boundaries, accusations of alienating their fan base and adopting an arrogant and dull persona surfaced. In 2007, Radiohead took an unconventional step with In Rainbows, offering the album online for download at any price, including free. Despite intentions to empower consumers, they faced backlash for perceived conceit, naivete, and potential harm to the traditional music business. The 2016 release, A Moon-Shaped Pool, marked another shift, featuring sparse drumming and symphonic orchestration. However, this evolution was met with mockery, with critics branding them as gloomy, boring, and out of touch. Their 2017 performance at the Glastonbury Festival further fueled criticism as certain audience members expressed displeasure amid a lengthy and obscure setlist. Radiohead found themselves labeled as irrelevant, conceited, and unpopular. Beyond their musical endeavors, Radiohead's outspoken political and environmental stances, advocating against war, supporting human rights, and raising awareness about climate change, have invited accusations of being irritating, preachy, and hypocritical. 15. The Who. The Who, pioneers of the rock opera and masters of feedback and distortion, found themselves entangled in a web of tragedies, controversies, and perceived irrelevance. Guitarist Pete Townshend stirred the pot with a controversial autobiography, coupled with revelations about his hearing loss and involvement in a child porn scandal. The shadows of their past grew darker with the release of the 2006 album Endless Wire, featuring the short rock opera Wire and Glass. Critics dismissed it as irrelevant, antiquated, and uninspired, signaling a departure from the groundbreaking sound that defined them. Even a performance at the 2010 Super Bowl halftime show couldn't escape criticism. Overshadowed by younger and more animated performers, The Who faced mockery for their perceived lack of energy, age, and appearance. Their 2019 album, Who, delved into themes of politics, aging, and the music business. Unfortunately, it was met with ridicule, deemed uninteresting, cliched, and outdated. The band, once celebrated for pushing boundaries, now struggled to stay relevant in a rapidly changing music landscape. Tragedy struck The Who multiple times, with the 1978 death of drummer Keith Moon, the 2002 death of bassist John Entwistle, and the 1979 Cincinnati concert stampede that claimed the lives of 11 fans. The weight of these losses added a somber note to their legacy. Influenced by iconic bands like the Beatles, the Rolling Stones, and Bob Dylan, The Who faced accusations of being derivative, unoriginal, and overly fixated on their inspirations. 14. AC/DC. AC/DC, the epitome of hard rock with their electrifying live performances and no-nonsense tunes, found themselves in the crossfire of criticism, facing challenges that shook the foundations of their legacy. Known for their high-volume, in-your-face style, AC/DC's unapologetic approach drew flack for perceived misogyny and a formulaic musical structure. Critics took issue with their loudness, objectification of women, and a seemingly narrow range in their musical palette. The band experienced its share of hardships, from illnesses and injuries to heartbreaking deaths. Drummer Phil Rudd faced legal troubles. Guitarist Malcolm Young and original lead singer Bon Scott succumbed to alcohol-related causes, and singer Brian Johnson had to step back due to hearing loss. These setbacks not only impacted their music, but also invited ridicule for their choices, lifestyles, and the toll of time on their appearance. AC/DC became the butt of jokes in popular culture, with comedians, musicians, and even movies like Wayne's World, Spinal Tap, and This Is 40 poking fun at their perceived excesses, age, and cultural relevance. In a surprising move, the band enlisted Axl Rose, the controversial frontman of Guns N' Roses, to replace Brian Johnson for their 2016 tour. This decision stirred mixed reactions among fans, peers, and critics, raising questions about the band's direction and the acceptance of this unconventional change. 13. Bon Jovi. Bon Jovi, the juggernauts of pop rock and arena anthems, soared to unprecedented heights in the music industry, but with success came the weight of criticism, questioning the very essence of their rock and roll identity. Their pop-infused sound and arena-filling presence garnered them immense popularity, but detractors labeled them as overly corny and commercial. The iconic long hair that once symbolized rebellion in the rock scene became a point of contention, viewed by some as an outdated hallmark of their image. Frontman Jon Bon Jovi, despite his charisma on stage, faced scrutiny for his ego, ventures into acting, and political views. The band's decision to elope with their high school sweethearts at the peak of their careers drew accusations of impulsiveness and unprofessionalism. The departure of longtime guitarist Richie Sambora in 2013 marked a turning point. Their 2016 album, This House Is Not For Sale, without Sambora, was met with mockery, branded as monotonous and needy. A reunion at the 2018 Rock and Roll Hall of Fame induction ceremony stirred controversy, not just for the exclusion of current guitarist Phil X, but also for the performance and speech that left a divisive impact. Bon Jovi's journey was not without scandal, facing lawsuits for plagiarism, travel bans, and scams involving fake concert tickets. Their outspoken stance on social and political issues, endorsing causes from philanthropy to gun control, and supporting political figures like Joe Biden, Hillary Clinton, and Barack Obama, drew criticism for perceived preachiness and hypocrisy. 12. U2. U2, the global icons of rock, have experienced the zenith of praise along with the depths of criticism, revealing a complex narrative that goes beyond their musical prowess. In 1997, the release of Pop marked a departure from the traditional rock sound, delving into disco, dance, and techno. The shift was met with accusations of being uncool and alienating their fan base, challenging their status as innovators. The band faced charges of hypocrisy in 2005 due to involvement in a tax avoidance scheme, relocating assets from Ireland to the Netherlands. This tarnished their image as they were seen as advocating social justice while engaging in financial practices that contradicted those principles. The controversial move continued with the 2014 album Songs of Innocence, automatically delivered to over 500 million iTunes users without consent. The act was labeled as inconsiderate and desperate, leading to widespread backlash. U2's involvement in various controversies, including a comment deemed as bigger than Jesus, the ill-fated musical Spider-Man: Turn Off the Dark, and their participation in the charitable One campaign, invited mockery for perceived arrogance, ignorance, and inefficiency. Despite their attempts to draw inspiration from the Beatles, Bob Dylan, and Martin Luther King Jr., U2 faced criticism for being overly obsessed, unoriginal, and derivative. 11. Eagles. The Eagles, with their harmonies and infectious tunes, soared to great heights but also faced turbulence in the form of criticism and controversies. In 1979, their album The Long Run hit commercial success but stumbled critically, being labeled as overproduced, unimaginative, and repetitive. Despite their massive achievements, detractors accused them of dullness, uninspired creativity, and burnout. The Eagles' reunion at the 1994 Rock and Roll Hall of Fame induction ceremony reignited tensions. The speech, performance, and the snubbing of former guitarist Don Felder sparked controversy, overshadowing the celebratory occasion. Their 2007 comeback album, Long Road Out of Eden, featured socially conscious and political tracks. However, they faced backlash for being perceived as obnoxious, insincere, and out of touch, revealing the challenges of staying relevant after a prolonged hiatus. Legal battles, including disputes with their former label Asylum Records, bandmate Randy Meisner, and manager Irving Azoff, added another layer of complexity to their narrative. The Eagles found themselves entangled in scandals and litigations, drawing mockery from critics. While openly acknowledging influences like the Beatles, the Byrds, and the Flying Burrito Brothers, the Eagles have been accused of obsession, lack of originality, and derivative tendencies. 10. Aerosmith. Aerosmith, once a powerhouse of bluesy hard rock, faced a tumultuous journey marked by struggles with credibility, internal conflicts, and the challenges of adapting to a changing music landscape. The band's collaboration with pop sensation Britney Spears, rap group Run DMC, and other artists led to questions about their musical direction and artistic choices. Despite decades of rocking, Aerosmith battled drug addiction and internal strife that impacted their credibility. In 1985, their comeback album, Done with Mirrors, released on Geffen Records, failed to resonate with critics and fans. The reception branded them as washed up, dated, and mediocre, challenging their relevance in the evolving music scene. The band took matters into their own hands with the 2001 album Just Push Play, but it was criticized for being overproduced, monotonous, and uninspired. Accusations of dullness, laziness, and burnout surrounded Aerosmith, raising questions about their ability to adapt to the contemporary music landscape. A notable moment came during the 2001 Super Bowl halftime show when they shared the stage with pop acts like Britney Spears, NSYNC, Mary J. Blige, and Nelly. This collaboration drew mockery, with Aerosmith being labeled as sellouts, aging, and boring. Scandals, including lawsuits for plagiarism, venue bans, and accusations of using fake concert tickets, added a layer of controversy to the band's narrative. Aerosmith found themselves entangled in legal battles and faced mockery for their actions and controversies. 9. Sex Pistols. The Sex Pistols, a groundbreaking punk band, stormed onto the music scene with controversial lyrics, a defiant attitude, and wild live performances. Their impact was encapsulated in the genre-defining masterpiece Nevermind the Bollocks, Here's the Sex Pistols, which remains a punk rock classic. However, the band's journey took unexpected turns, leading to accusations of selling out and cashing in on their past fame. After a brief existence in the late 1970s, the Sex Pistols faced personal tragedies, drug and alcohol addiction, and legal troubles. Despite attempts at reunion in the 1990s and 2000s, they were criticized for compromising their rebellious image. The rejection of their induction into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in 2006, dismissing it as a piss stain, reinforced their anti-establishment stance, but also drew accusations of unnecessary defiance. The band's history is marred by the tragic deaths of two founding members, Sid Vicious and Glenn Matlock, both attributed to drug-related causes. Sid Vicious in particular faced a notorious end with a heroin overdose in 1979, following his imprisonment for the alleged murder of his girlfriend, Nancy Spungen. Rather than being hailed as punk icons, the Sex Pistols found themselves becoming a target of nostalgia and ridicule. Comedians, musicians, and critics mocked their outdated look, outmoded fashion sense, and what some perceived as a futile message. Their legacy became entangled with sensationalized or negative portrayals in books, documentaries, and films. 8. Guns N' Roses. Guns N' Roses, a powerhouse of raw and rebellious music in the late 1980s, experienced a meteoric rise followed by a tumultuous fall marked by ego conflicts, lineup changes, and legal disputes. Axl Rose, the iconic frontman, garnered a notorious reputation for his erratic behavior, vocal struggles, and chronic tardiness. The release of their album Chinese Democracy in 2008, after a 15-year hiatus, attracted criticism for its exorbitant production cost exceeding $13 million. The band was lambasted as overhyped, unimpressive, and excessively delayed. A surprise reunion performance at the 2002 MTV Video Music Awards shocked fans with new members, altered appearances, and a performance that drew mockery for perceived dullness, weight gain, and aging. In 2023, Guns N' Roses released Perhaps, their first album in 15 years, featuring a collaboration with singer and rapper Lorde. However, this comeback was met with accusations of irrelevance, monotony, and desperation. The band's history is marred by riots, lawsuits, and cancellations, including the 1991 St. Louis riot, the 2000 Napster case, and the 2010 Dublin cancellation. Their provocative actions, threats, and losses have fueled widespread mockery. While openly acknowledging influences such as Aerosmith, Elton John, and Nirvana, Guns N' Roses has faced criticism for being overly fixated, uninspired, and derivative. 7. Red Hot Chili Peppers. The Red Hot Chili Peppers, celebrated for their fusion of rap, rock, and funk, brought a unique and vibrant sound to the music scene. However, their journey has not been without controversy, facing criticism for drug use, nudity, and a quirky stage choice: socks. Lead vocalist Anthony Kiedis, often in the spotlight, drew flack for his memoir, lyrics, and distinctive voice. In 1995, the band released One Hot Minute, an album that proved to be both a commercial and critical disappointment. The addition of guitarist Dave Navarro was met with skepticism, with many deeming him unsuitable for the band's established sound. Accusations of lacking inspiration, consistency, and focus followed, tarnishing their once unblemished reputation. During the 2014 Super Bowl halftime show performance with pop star Bruno Mars, the Chili Peppers faced embarrassment as they were caught lip-syncing instruments that weren't plugged in. This incident led to accusations of selling out, irrelevance, and authenticity concerns. Their 2016 album, The Getaway, marked a departure from longtime collaborator Rick Rubin, enlisting new producer Danger Mouse. However, this change did not shield them from criticism, as they were derided for being outdated, monotonous, and predictable. The band's journey has been marred by scandals, including lawsuits alleging plagiarism, venue bans, and arrests for various offenses. Their outspoken political and social views, supporting causes like the Free Tibet campaign, environmental issues, and animal rights, have also drawn criticism for perceived obnoxiousness, hypocrisy, and sanctimoniousness. 6. The Rolling Stones. The Rolling Stones, often hailed as the epitome of the world's greatest rock and roll band, find themselves caught between praise and criticism, with detractors pointing fingers at their decadence, longevity, and perceived irrelevance. The band members, once considered icons, have become the subjects of mockery for their controversies, age, and even their attractiveness. In 1986, the Stones released Dirty Work, an album that, despite its initial anticipation, proved to be a commercial and critical disaster. Recorded during a period of bitterness and substance abuse among the band members, the songs were labeled as washed up, uninspired, and unfocused. During the 2006 Super Bowl halftime show, the Stones opted for a shorter, edited version of their hits, a decision that backfired as they were overshadowed by more vibrant and youthful performers. This choice led to ridicule, with critics portraying them as dull, tame, and old, questioning their ability to connect with contemporary audiences. Their 2016 studio album, Blue and Lonesome, marked their return after 11 years, featuring covers of blues songs by their influences. However, this endeavor garnered criticism for being perceived as unoriginal, indolent, and out of touch with the evolving musical landscape. 5. Metallica. Once revered as one of the premier thrash metal acts, Metallica underwent a transformative journey that propelled them into the realms of hard rock, a shift met with both acclaim and severe criticism. Their ventures into musical experimentation, such as the controversial collaboration with Lou Reed on Lulu, the alternative rock exploration in Load, and the orchestral collaboration with S&M, left some fans feeling alienated. Metallica took an unexpected role as spokesman for the anti-piracy campaign, culminating in a lawsuit against the file-sharing giant Napster for copyright infringement. This move led to accusations of greed, hypocrisy, and a perceived detachment from both their fans and the rapidly evolving world of technology. In the documentary Some Kind of Monster, the band laid bare their creative struggles, emotional conflicts, and even therapy sessions. This transparency, intended to humanize the band, instead invited mockery for what some perceived as gullibility, arrogance, and a departure from the expected metal attitude. Metallica faced criticism for their ventures into mismatched genres, criticized sound quality, and an apparent lack of chemistry during a performance with rapper and singer Lorde at the 2014 Grammy Awards. Their decision to shed their iconic long hair, symbolic of their metal identity, in favor of a more polished, mainstream look, drew ridicule. The band found themselves under scrutiny for their age, appearance, and accusations of selling out to broader commercial interests. 4. Led Zeppelin. Led Zeppelin, a powerhouse in the rock genre, masterfully blended heavy metal, folk, and blues to create a formidable sonic experience. However, their journey was not without controversy, as they found themselves entangled in accusations of immorality, Satanism, and plagiarism. The band faced legal battles, protests, and bans related to allegations of sexual misconduct, the use of occult symbols, and claims of song plagiarism. These challenges were compounded by arrests, injuries, and tragic deaths within the band. Guitarist Jimmy Page suffered a broken finger, singer Robert Plant survived a car crash, while manager Peter Grant and drummer John Bonham succumbed to the perils of alcohol. In addition to their personal struggles, Led Zeppelin engaged in fights, riots, and acts of vandalism, actions that contributed to a public perception that mocked their music, style, and appearance. Comedians, musicians, and movies took advantage of opportunities to parody the band, further adding to the ridicule. The passage of 52 years unveiled a mystery surrounding their fourth album cover, which featured an enigmatic image of an old man with sticks. Initially, the band had no information about the figure's identity or origin. It was later revealed that the man was Lot Long, a Victorian roof thatcher. The album cover, inspired by a photograph of Long, discovered in an antique shop by the band's designer, became an iconic and mysterious symbol of Led Zeppelin's musical journey. This revelation shed light on the creative process behind one of the most legendary and enigmatic album covers in rock history. 3. Kiss. Kiss, renowned for their extravagant stage performances, iconic makeup, and an extensive array of merchandise, is a rock band that has left an indelible mark on the music industry. However, their journey is not without its share of controversies, including accusations of musical unoriginality, creative stagnation, and internal discord. For some, Kiss stands as one of the most polarizing classic rock bands. Despite boasting an impressive discography of over 100 albums, critics argue that a significant portion comprises compilations, live recordings, or solo projects. Detractors often point to their early albums, criticizing them as uninspired, monotonous, and repetitive. Kiss's prolific merchandising ventures, spanning over 5,000 licensed products, from coffins to action figures to condoms, have drawn accusations of greed, excessive commercialization, and exploitation of their fan base. The band's lineup has undergone frequent changes, driven by conflicts, lawsuits, and firings. Internal strife among founding members has spilled into public spats, insults, and allegations. Despite multiple attempts at reinvention, these efforts have not always been successful and, at times, have even backfired. Kiss's forays into various genres, including pop, rap, grunge, and disco, have been met with mixed reviews, with critics suggesting that such experimentation has compromised their musical identity and credibility. In popular culture, Kiss has become a target for satire and parody. Comedians, musicians, and media productions like Wayne's World, Spinal Tap, and Family Guy have all taken a humorous swipe at the band, poking fun at their music, attitude, and appearance. 2. Queen. Queen, a band celebrated for its genre-spanning creativity and the iconic vocal prowess of Freddie Mercury, has etched its place in music history. Yet, the journey of Queen has not been without its controversies, drawing criticism for elements ranging from flamboyance and sexuality to the handling of Mercury's HIV diagnosis. In 1982, Queen released Hot Space, an album marked by disco, funk, and pop influences, departing from their rock roots. The band faced accusations of being trendy, lackluster, and accused of embracing a more homosexual image. Controversy surrounded their performance in South Africa during the apartheid era, but they redeemed themselves with a standout set at the 1985 Live Aid concert, though facing allegations of hypocrisy and greed. The Miracle, Queen's first album following Freddie Mercury's AIDS diagnosis, hit the shelves in 1989, featuring songs that delved into themes of love, life, and death. The band, now without Mercury, released subsequent works collaborating with artists like David Bowie, Elton John, and Adam Lambert. However, they faced criticism for appearing to lack the creativity and magic of their earlier years. Post-Mercury, Queen's ventures extended into the realm of musicals with We Will Rock You in 2002, set in a dystopian future. The musical drew ridicule for being perceived as corny, absurd, and inconsequential. In 2018, the band's biopic, Bohemian Rhapsody, received commercial success but was criticized for presenting a sanitized and allegedly false depiction of Mercury's life and career. Accusations of deceit, manipulation, and dishonesty followed. 1. The Beatles. The Beatles, often hailed as the epitome of rock greatness, have not been immune to the scrutiny that comes with fame. Despite their unparalleled influence and popularity, the Fab Four faced controversies related to drug use, religious beliefs, and their eventual split. In 1970, the Beatles released their final studio album, Let It Be, amidst tense and tumultuous recording sessions. The songs on the album were met with accusations of resentment, dishonesty, and a perceived lack of inspiration. The band's last public performance on the rooftop of Apple's headquarters in 1969 drew a substantial crowd and the attention of the police. Criticism followed, labeling them as desperate, disruptive, and lawbreakers. The announcement of their separation in 1970 sent shockwaves through their fan base, leading to legal battles, public disputes, and individual pursuits. Mockery ensued, targeting their perceived immaturity, egos, and greed. The Beatles were entangled in various controversies, including the Yoko Ono affair, the bigger than Jesus comment, and the infamous Paul is dead hoax. Accusations of infidelity, conceit, and ignorance followed, drawing ridicule. While openly acknowledging their influences such as Bob Dylan, Maharishi Mahesh Yogi, and Elvis Presley, the Beatles found themselves under scrutiny for alleged fixation, lack of originality, and derivativeness. The journey of the Beatles, though crowned with musical brilliance, is also marked by the challenges and controversies that accompany superstardom. You now know the top 20 classic rock bands that aged most embarrassingly. Did your favorite band make the cut? Let me know in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe, and ring that notification bell so you never miss out on our upcoming content. And of course, share this video with your friends. Thanks for watching.